How to Be a Successful Black Man, a book written by Dr. Daniel LaRoche. It's an easy read and a great book for families, kids, grandkids, nieces, and nephews to help give pearls for success. Available for purchase online on Amazon and more. I got mine. Go get yours. Link is in the description. Promote your brand here at Viral Hip Hop News. Hit me, Sam Ant, at dlsmediainc1@gmail.com. dlsmediainc1@gmail.com. Let's go.
Welcome to another episode of the Hip Hop Uncensored Podcast. I'm your brother, Old Guy from Hip Hop News Uncensored, and sitting across from me is my co-host.
What up, y'all? It's your man, Sam Ant, Viral Hip Hop News in the building for another edition of the Hip Hop Uncensored Podcast. We got a special guest in the building. We got the good brother, John Salley, on the podcast. How you doing today, brother?
What up? Couldn't wait to get on.
Oh, yeah. We excited too, brother. Definitely happy to have you on here, man, for another edition.
Y'all be wrong all the time. No, I'm joking.
About what?
I'm just
We can talk about it now.
Hell yeah, what would be wrong about? But nah, man, it's good to have you on, man. I've been following you for a long time, from basketball days to the movies to now you being a vegan, you being an advocate for marijuana, things that we're very involved in and very in tune to. So definitely appreciate having you on, brother. So just I want to kind of just talk sports real quick before we get into the meat and potatoes of the conversation, because Tim Tebow's been in the news heavy today, coming back to the Jacksonville Jaguars. We got Urban Meyer bringing him back. His boy, and a lot of people are stirred up. You got one side saying this is nonsense, this is bullshit. You got another side saying it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. Tebow's back. What do you think about it?
I think we're talking about Tebow, and you know what I'm saying. I think it is a very well planned distraction, right? Him come back, like when Tebow went into the league. What year was that? It was 2008, 2007. When everybody, the whole virgin thing, right?
Yeah.
So he was 22. So how old is he now? 33 years old? 34?
Yeah.
Most people retire. I retired at 32, then came back and retired again at 36. Right? We calling LeBron old right now. Well, we not. The media is calling him old. He's been in the league so long, 18 years. So do you think from 22 years old, even though he didn't play to that point, doing television, dancing, all that he can come back and be in football shape? I think the idea is his way of being inside the locker room. A lot of people, like I just did, I only gave it to you for a reason, give you the whole physical, but the mental part, the mental stability, the focus, the image, all the weight that will go and follow him that he can shoulder will help other guys be able to do things. So I think him bringing them in is a mentality, bringing somebody who's great in the locker room, somebody who's great with people. If he's going to put him in every once in a while to play tight end, cool. For somebody to say he can't play tight end, I was watching Booger on that other network saying, it's an insult. He shouldn't have turned it down. He said, let me tell you, and I say this all the time. I wanted you guys to ask about J. Cole, so I'll wait and I'll get to that. But this is the only life you have. Live it to the fullest.
Wow.
Definitely. Yeah. Talk about J. Cole, man. Joining, I think, a Rwandan national team.
Yeah.
How you feel about that, man? And do you have any inside information on that situation?
Brother can ball.
Yeah, he can ball. And I was talking to a brother not too long ago about being involved in the professional basketball league in Africa, which would make all the sense in the world. One, if he gets on this Rwanda team, I'm sure he's going to get dual citizenship, which changes a lot. Two, I went from playing basketball, and my last game playing, I feel, was May 16th, 2000. And then September 20th, 2000, I was the host of BET Live. So I went into entertainment immediately. I shot 3 movies that summer, right after my last NBA game. And in June, in August, I was shooting movies. In September, I was hosting until November. I think I just went this way. We're used to seeing athletes, not used to, but it has been where athletes have moved in front of the camera in a different way. And I think we're okay, he can do that. Oh, he's doing pretty well at that. I think now when you see an entertainer then move into athletics, it throws people. And I take my hat off to them. I would watch. I would be interested in what happens. I know the NBA literally doesn't want people to know how they, just like baseball has the Dominican Republic that they're breeding and literally making the best players. It's happening in Africa. So if Africa were to have its own league, just in Nigeria, imagine if Nigerians went to see basketball like they do when they watch football, better known as soccer in America. It'd be 200 million people, 100 million people watching. Yeah. And that's like, half of what watches in China. So that would then turn into that. It would turn into a competition for the NBA. So I think it's a smart thing. I wish I could get involved.
So with that being said, real quick, what do you think about Ice Cube's league? I don't know if it's even still in existence.
Big Three.
Yeah, the Big Three.
I was telling them I wanted to be the commentator. They went with Michael Rappaport instead, which is cool. Cube knows what I can do, but they decided to go with Michael Rappaport. I think it was amazing to see. A lot of guys still play. I don't play. If you throw a ball at me, I will duck. Or call the cops. I don't do that for fun, man. Just play for fun. I don't play for fun. I stopped playing for fun in '86. I play for pay. I was just thinking of other jobs you would say that about too. But I think the lead is dope. I think when you get to see some of these guys, they were all great in the NBA. You have to, I'm not bragging on it, but you're 1 in a million people in America. And I think 1 in 3 million people or 4 million people in the world that play in the NBA. So when you come out and you can still entertain, because it was entertaining. I tell you that it was entertaining. I know they wish the sponsorship and it would have become bigger, but the fact that it got on television is amazing. And the fact that it had the sponsors it had, it also made room for what I do in cannabis, because of it allowing CBD to be used is a major thing too.
Absolutely. I was going to talk about that later, but let's kind of talk about that now, because you were an advocate of marijuana and an advocate of veganism before it was popular. Now, today in 2021, everybody is a vegan or tried to be a vegan, or everybody's in the marijuana because it's the popular to do. And that's a great thing. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. But when you were doing it and when it was against the grain, what was kind of the backlash that you were taking early on? This weekend I'm gonna be 57, and when I first smoked weed, I was 36, and it was the last month of me being a Laker, because I didn't want, I saw so many guys losing their career or being considered something other than we worked our whole life for. So I didn't want anything to do that. I didn't want to be involved in anything that was going to take you away from what I worked my whole life for. And then I realized that we were being lied to. Just like, I was watching a documentary a little while ago about opioids, when, those were being given away like M&Ms, and we were being lied to by the company that knew they were lying. But, it's, hey, you got pain in your knee, take this. I don't want to name the country. Take this, take that, take this, put this cream on it, do that, this, ice this. And they knew it. The people who were making it were only making you addicted. When I found out that you really can't be addicted to marijuana, you could want it all the time, but it's addiction. It's a difference when you would want to kill somebody to get it, or you would rob somebody to get it. That's a difference. There's no addiction to it. When I also realized how good I felt, man, it was amazing. The first time I smoked that joint, I was outside in Sacramento doing yoga and stretching. I had no pain in my back, no pain in my knees. I was like, wow, this is amazing. And the next day I told my teammate, man, he said, Sal, I told you that was the chronic. I was like, y'all smoke that every day? Like, I'd play until I was 50 if I had this. But that's the mentality too. If they got to keep you in and out. They got to keep you in and out. Those contracts are 4 years. They're trying to get the new blood in and the new blood in. That's how they keep keep it moving. So they don't want the old people hanging around, educating, teaching you things. They want to keep it moving. They want to keep it exciting. But as far as in the long run, I mean, now
I tell everybody. Isaiah Thomas made me advisor of his company. He's the CEO of called One World Pharma, which pretty soon will be the largest cannabis and hemp manufacturer in the world out of Colombia. I got with Title Sport with Conor McGregor as our face and our partner. And that's literally in every going to be in every CVS store. So it's moving forward. And I got in the right places to move it forward. So going back, I didn't have any backlash because I was only thinking forward. I wasn't looking for their validation. I know the science, and I was dealing in the science since 2005. So back when it was illegal, but I couldn't believe, and I knew why. I mean, back then I was making lotions, potions, and creams, and telling guys, man, if I get tested and it comes in, it's not steroids. This is CBD. This is THC in the CBD. Man, if they test me and it's in my blood system, well, then you can point to the cream and say you didn't know it was in there, and they couldn't do anything about it. But now I think Adam Silver is a smart dude. I think he is unbelievably smart. Look what he did with the owner of the Clippers. Look what he talked about inclusion when he brought in my boy who to deal with people dealing with homosexuality and lesbianism, and the WNBA and the NBA, like making people understand it's their choice and how to deal with it, and not to be homophobic, and not to sit down and be hypocritical or mean, that kind of thing. I think the NBA is moving in those great directions. So as far as taking care of your body, I think when they realize that CBD is from a plant, and there's one that we got these regulations on a plant, which is ridiculous, that they shouldn't be. So I think it's going to work in our favor. And I think the NBA is going to be the first. Well, I guess football is now, but these guys are going to demand it, and they're starting to realize there's power in unity.
How big is the opioid use? Would you say in the NBA and even in the NFL? If you have any, if you're privy to that information, these guys, all these injuries, and they're giving them these pills. Next thing you know, a week or two later, they're hooked. Would you say it's something that's being swept under the rug and hidden by these bigger, like the NFL and the NBA, in your opinion?
No, I don't think they're sweeping under the rug. I really think that these companies that have been protected and been doing it since the 70s, I mean, they just do commercials on why you should take these pills and how you can regulate. There's clinics called pain relief clinics that pain clinics is what it's called, where you can go in and they work on, well, we're going to give you a low dose here, and this will work on the pain, not working on the problem, working on the pain. So they've been doing this, and it's been inbred, instilled in us this whole time. So I don't think the NBA or NFL, I don't think the teams are thinking that. I'm thinking the medical associations or the medical establishment should be the one taking the blunt of the blame for this opioid crisis. Do you know this is the best thing about CBD, especially right now is a plug, but Title is TIDL, Title Sport. The reason I even got involved with Anthos Group is this product works. Now, I'm only telling you that because I've had a bunch of products. I've made products. I've been with the best of the best. I've been with people who sold their companies for millions of dollars that's supposed to be great. I've been around all of them. And the reason I said I had to be involved with this is because it's something I know I could use. It's a chrono spray. So it literally freezes, and then the hemp works. Now, if you have a pain, right, you would feel it outside here. Pain inside is something different. But if you had an elbow pain, wrist pain, neck pain, you spray this on, and all of a sudden the pain goes away. That's way better than ingesting something that gets into your bloodstream, that feeds a parasite, that locks to a receptor in your brain. We already know it's not going to do that. We know that the freezing part and the receptor part is just to tell your brain, hey, we're working down here, as opposed to your brain hooked up with this drug through this chemical saying you need more of it. You need more of it. So CBD can literally erase, CBD and THC, especially at the right numbers, can erase this whole opioid situation. And they know that.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, it's definitely powerful. I want to go back to sports and just talking about the voice of athletes nowadays. We've seen our Muhammad Ali's, our John Carlos's and Tommy Smith's. We've seen our athletes come out and be outspoken for our people and weren't loved for it. They weren't loved until later on, appreciated until later on. And now we're seeing the NBA and the NFL and other sports genres getting into it and having a voice because of social media and things like that. Talk about that, if you may, just the power of the voice in athletes. Is it good or bad for sports? And then talk about it during your time in the NBA. If I'm not mistaken, I think Abdul Rauf, he protested the flag and damn near got blackballed for it, if I'm not mistaken. So
he got white ball.
Back then, huh?
He got white ball.
Dang, yeah, white ball. Facts. Talk about the players and how they have the voice now, and then talk about it when you play.
So this is the deal. Muhammad Ali was my favorite athlete.
All right.
And that was it. I got right now, like, one of my dearest people in my life gave me a comic book that I had, Muhammad Ali versus Superman. And I'm not going to spoiler alert who won, but just letting you know, it was amazing to me that was even a comic book.
Right.
And Muhammad Ali, I mean, I was really young when he was doing it, and I wasn't totally understanding what was happening, but he still was the most charismatic, soft-spoken, smack-talking producer I had ever seen at that time. No one had seen it. But Jim Brown, Muhammad Ali, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Bill Russell, who else? There was a couple other guys. They came together and they talked about unity. They talked about financial stability in the neighborhoods, what they were teaching and how. You know, it's not all about you make the money, you get the Rolls Royce and you bring it back to your neighborhood and say, look what I have. So there was different guys. There was Craig Hodges. Craig Hodges played for the Bulls and he had really a lot to say. Mm-hmm. And Vlad interviewed him. Sorry to give my man a shout out, but he interviewed him and it should have gotten more hits. And the reason is because you would have seen how far back this goes, that people who say something. Now, as far as Kaepernick, from day one, I was on with Cap. But I was understanding, like my man Ocho Cinco was explaining, when you feel that every suicide or every time you played football from Pop Warner all the way until being a pro, and you get to your place, and then somebody says, hey, put all that on the line for everyone else that won't put it on the line for themselves. Mm-hmm. You feel me? Like, I'm in this position, so I got to say it. There's been a bunch of people who would tell me everything I should do with my celebrity, but with their non-celebrity, they're doing nothing. Not anything. They're not involved in any group, because those involved in these different groups, they're doing things. They don't have time to sit around and talk about what athlete or what actor or what politician should be doing, because everybody is doing the best they can with the time they have. Like, I love Dr. Umar Johnson. And Dr. Umar Johnson, even though he says what he says, he's doing it himself without being a celebrity. He made himself, it's become more and more recognizable and people celebrate him, but he's doing it. Now, as far as you should stand up, yeah, I was a dashiki wearing, kufi wearing, black emblem wearing, fight the power with Spike. I was literally marching with Desmond Tutu and Martin Luther King's widow, Coretta Scott King. And I don't want to say the year, but we were marching in Atlanta. Mm-hmm. And I remember when Mandela came into Detroit in 1990, yeah, I think it was 1990. He comes in, and I had raised money, put my money in, gone to these different things. We have all these people around, and I think it runs to a situation where you do this work. Harry Belafonte is literally became a mentor of mine. We do all this work, and sometimes we don't see any movement, right? But there is movement. But to sit around, if anybody can stop and say they should be doing this because they have that, they are the ones we need to stop listening to. because the doers are doing. And then if you want something to happen, you're literally attracting that. Like they got mad at Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan said this, and Michael Jordan, many sneakers he sell it. What's that have to do with it? Like, you know, y'all didn't say this to Michael Jordan when he was in high school. You didn't say this when he was in college, when he became a pro, and then all these white folks started paying attention to him. Oh, that's ours. Did the same thing with Tiger Woods, right? No one was caring about Tiger until they realized he was black and he was in the Masters. No one was giving the love to the people who came before him. They got caught up in the ESPN, Nike propaganda, and everybody was like, he's ours. He should be doing this. And it's a trip when they do that. And when I hear so-called leaders, preachers, and start pointing to athletes and saying, you should do this for the people should be doing it. You shouldn't come at them just because of that. That's my feeling. I do things because I wanted to, not because they felt I had to.
Now, to the Dr. Umar, I heard you talking about him, and he's been in the news recently, obviously on the Breakfast Club. One question I want to ask you before I go in. Did you donate to a school by any chance?
No.
Okay. Because he's been under a lot of criticism lately from a lot of different people. I don't know if you've seen Lord Jamar show, but he was on there, and he asked him about the school he's supposed to be building. It's been like almost 10 years, and he hasn't been accountable to the people. And he's one of the people that call out the celebrities and different leaders, you know, for not donating to a school. So I want to know, like, you know, if you particularly donated to his cause at all.
All right. So one thing, I believe in Dr. Umar Johnson. Let me start there. I think he says a lot of wonderful things. Mm-hmm. But my wife is the daughter of a mixed marriage. Mm-hmm. My mother-in-law and my father-in-law were the first black and white couple legally married in the state of Michigan in 1964. So, and then my wife went on to Tuskegee, played JKA, and then married an Omega man that's dark and she said, I wanted you as dark as you could possibly be, so my babies have some color. So I don't totally say I understand where he's going, right, but I would have to negate my mother-in-law, and I don't want to do that. So that's that part. Second, but I understand what he means. I understand. Now, he's been waiting 10 years. Do you know how long it took us to get into Martin Luther? Like, who was it? Stevie Wonder, man. It took years to get the Martin Luther King presentation presented in DC.
Okay.
And you know, it took. Oh, y'all have to raise this kind of money, that kind of money. But I know for all the other monuments, that was never a question. So you also have to realize we're in this country, and he can have those broad ideas. And when you put up great ideas like Dr. Umar on having a school for young men to change our psyche, you got to realize how many people don't want that to happen. There's a lot of people who don't want us to figure out our God need list. A lot of people, and it's a reason, right? It will destroy, and it would change the way the privileges that go on in this country are. I think America is waking up. I think it's an amazing thing that they're starting to realize. And I think the biggest thing, Chris Rock said it best. He said, white folks are just less crazy. And the guy said, what do you mean? He goes, well, you know, somebody said my grandfather couldn't eat in a cafe. That's crazy. I can't eat next to you? That's crazy. And then some white folks said, you know, that's crazy. We should change that. Because black people, we're the same great people we always been. It's just that they have to get more and more white folks or people in power had to be more and more comfortable with the fact that we were human and not animals. And so that was in the 60s and the 70s, like in the 80s, was it? But like now in the 2000s, y'all young, 2016 on 2000, and I would say from 2016, when Donald Trump got in, I think a lot more people started paying attention to what was going on. And Donald Trump may have done some really cool things and really pissed off the liberals and the Democrats and the whole joint. But I'm like with Malcolm. You know, I'm not a Republican or a Democrat. I mean, I had to have an amendment just for you guys to say I was a human, and then another amendment to say that I can be a part of America. So obviously, to most, I'm not even American. So I don't take any sides with their situation. And somebody thinks, well, you're going to have to take one. I don't have to take a side. That's the best thing about being American. I have free choice. So I take this side. and I'm gonna stay on this side. I know it seems like I went to him, but I'm gonna stay on this side, and this is why. I just think a lot of cats are running into believing the wrong thing, following the wrong people. Dr. Umar, they want to talk about his money and talk. That's the first thing they do too. You ever realize that when there's black folks involved, they talk about where the money go. They talk about sexuality. Nothing about what's really the deal, right? Like nothing. No one, like Black Lives Matter could have financed Dr. Umar Johnson with a stroke of a pen. They didn't.
You ever hear Q Butter?
Q Butter.
Brother named Q Butter.
Probably.
He's a brother out of I think
Brooklyn.
Yeah, he's out of Brooklyn. He owns the Ziax Institute in Brooklyn, where he does online schooling for young black children. He services, if I'm not mistaken, 21 out of the 50 states in America. He's doing some very great things out of Brownsville, Brooklyn. And just to leave it ended on a positive note, I just wanted to shout that brother out.
Definitely.
Yeah, I got to get with you, Q Butter.
Doing the goddamn thing out there in Brownsville, man. He's doing this thing.
Yeah.
Ziax Institute, the ZiaxInstitute.org. I'm gonna plug him right now. Check that out. You're gonna see some great things over there. But kind of the transition, man.
Yeah.
Talk about your NBA career a little bit. You graduated from Georgia Tech, if I'm not mistaken, back in '86. I was 3 years old. 3 years old. So my mom and my daddy was like,
you're not mine.
when I told you I watched you my whole life, I watched you my whole goddamn life. Coming into the Pistons, man, I was basketball different then than what it is right now.
Well, it was more men play when I came in the NBA. It was more men. There was no young boys in the NBA. Even though you got drafted, man, it was a trip. Like it was almost like baseball and football. You had to wait your turn to play. You had to hope one of those old cats got injured, and that was the only way to play. That was a trip. I tell people, the NBA, what do they draft? 50 people a year. There's only 50 jobs available out of 400. And you got guys from other countries. You got guys who have left America, gone, trained, gotten better. You got guys in the G League. You got guys in the gym. And then when the summer comes around, you got about 1 million dudes wanting 50 jobs. So it's always been tough. But the way they train is different. Back in the day, big men ruled inside the lane. If you came in there, you were allowed to get hit. Can't do that now. Each player is a Fortune 500 company. It's back to being more and more finesse. That long ball shot that a lot of them are shooting.
Yeah.
Which, if you were to think about it, is a low percentage shot.
Definitely.
If you take a number, if you have guys who, like in baseball, who can hit the baseball 3 out of 10 times, that's a good percentage.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the analytics have changed. Refereeing is different. And there's cameras everywhere. Like I would have been in so much trouble. They would have caught me doing pinching and kicking your foot from underneath you, biting people's ear. They would have caught me because I was too skinny not to try everything. I even got one picture on one of my basketball cards. I'm grabbing Charles Oakley's shorts and I'm elbowing him and I'm leaning back, like everything to stop this mammoth from trying to get a rebound. So, or Patrick Ewing. So it's you did what you needed to do to play back then, and it was a little bit slower too. The difference is we flew commercial. People didn't trip out a lot when they saw us walking through the airport. It was like, it was that kind of thing. When I played in Detroit, we play in Milwaukee. We stayed in this hotel across the street, and they was like, all right, you got to be in the locker room by 6 o'clock. That means you had to walk across the street. Snow, sleet, rain, no matter what, you were walking into the arena like everybody else. Nowadays, the arena is one parking space, one big space over from where the Mecca used to be. You got to get on the bus, right? Because they make sure they secure you now. They realize how unsafe that was.
Right.
imagine Bill Lambert being able to walk in the street. The people wanted to kill him everywhere.
Right.
So we spent the night. So if I flew in to play Milwaukee, we flew in the night before the game, or the day before the game. We would, if coach didn't want to practice there, say, all right, flight's at 9 in the morning. And we'd be on a 9 o'clock flight. We'd get to wherever 11. We would have like a 2 o'clock practice, 2 to 3:30. So you got from 3:30 until the next morning when you had a meeting or a shoot around. So that is detrimental to your relationships, to your life, to your well-being, and to, I guess, more chances for you to do things that are not conducive to your future. Good way of putting it, meaning more babies were being born on the road. More drugs was being pushed on the road.
Man.
And then after you played, you got to go eat. Then you're back out at the nightclub with them, eating bad food, probably doing more things that weren't conducive to your future. And you got to be on the bus at 7 in the morning to go play next. So I think the difference with the private jets is you can get your guys in, you can feed them dinner on the plane, you can get them in at 9 o'clock, which they can go to the nightclub, but they're going to have less time. And I think leaving right after the game, less children, less drug addiction, less fights in the bars, less people getting thrown through windows, stabbed. It takes a lot.
Man, let's talk about the Pistons, the Bulls rivalry. That was obviously a time when Michael Jordan had to overcome, that I was very young. We were both young at the time, but can you kind of take us back through that and give us some of your, the major moments with that rivalry as it went down back in the day?
Man, let me tell you, I've been MJ's my fraternity brother, Omega Psi Phi. I've been friends with MJ since, I don't know, 1982, 83, 84. So when he went pro, and they would come in to play Atlanta, I would go to the hotel and see him, because he didn't know anybody in Atlanta except, me. And, it was a trip. It was a trip that to watch him go from being, a great college player and winning the championship in 82 and building up what he was going to be to becoming it. You got to understand, it was like he sold 100 million pair of shoes. No one ever has done that. You know what I'm saying? It's like it changed. He became more of a prisoner in his own world, man. So he couldn't go anywhere. And then when we would come in, I was doing my John Salley late night show, and he comes in the night before we play, and he's interviewing me because I'm going to take him to eat after we finish interviewing. We're just being whatever. And me just seeing him as Michael, not realizing he was going to be lifted to Messiah status. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's at a different level. So when we would win, he'd be mad, obviously, and I never expect to lose. So then after, like one time we hit Chicago, we beat them. And so I come out and I go, what's up? Where we going? He said, I'm going home. Go with your teammates. Got in his Ferrari and was like, whoa. I was Corvette at that time. Almost hitting people, pissed off. And I was like, man, he's salty. Because I'm not in this, my brothers tell me I don't deal with reality sometimes, but I don't realize like how much people like hold on to things. I believe I prepared so much, I supposed to win every time. Mm-hmm. I believe I'm better than you. I believed I was better than the guys they drafted before me. They drafted Brad Sellers. So in my brain, you should have told him to come get your mans. You went and got Brad Sellers. I got to give him the business every.
We lost your sound.
Something else on my brain. Yeah,
we got
so right. And so I was like, I got other things on my brain. Yeah, I'm trying to win a championship too. But he got that. But the cool thing about it is, when I got on Chicago, and like in '96. He made sure I had all the sneakers. Like literally, my sneakers were coming before Alonzo Mourning got them, and he had a $12 million deal. MJ had my locker full of Nikes, and we would play pickup one-on-one. He was just like always ready to go at it and I would say, we knew how to beat you. He goes, man, and I would say the same thing everybody else gonna pick up. You got to put the ball in your left hand more. You keep the ball in your left hand, they ain't not gonna know what to do. And he was like, what do you mean? I said, as soon as you put it down with your left, we attacked you. As soon as the ball went down, hit the ground in his left hand, we attacked him. If it was in his right hand, don't go near him. But if it was in his left hand, go at him because he's going to pick it up. Because we didn't feel he was as secure with his left as he was his right. So as soon as we made him pick it up, then we could run back. Because then he didn't have rhythm. There's a lot of ways to work with that cat. But like somebody asked me, I would play him. I'd say at 27 years old, Kobe would give you the business. Of course, I'm going to say that. We retired, old, eating Oreos at night. And I can say whatever. Kobe was 27 at that time. But there was nobody more tenacious than this guy. Alvin Robinson, close. But as far as going at people and being precise with it, was MJ. Well, you can see it. It's all on camera.
Yeah, we grew up during that era, our favorite era of basketball ever, watching Jordan. And I think the closest thing, and they got the LeBron and Jordan debate, but I'm still stuck on, and I think my cousin's still stuck on the Kobe Jordan debate. I don't think LeBron's even there. No disrespect to LeBron. It's all love of what he's doing.
Once again, y'all are wrong.
Nah, to
you play with all of them, so right.
And I mean, maybe it's just some fan shit, but I've never seen anybody on the court almost emulate the exact same thing we saw with Jordan than what Kobe did, and it was just amazing to see. Jordan obviously is number one on our list, but in my opinion, I think Kobe's too.
Yeah, I would say Michael and Kobe. As I said, there's Tide soap detergent, and then there's Tide Plus. But then LeBron is Tide Pods Wintergreen.
Word.
Like, you got to imagine. I think you're 100% right. But when you finish doing numbers, if they're going to go by numbers, LeBron is going to destroy. Like, what's he, fourth in scoring right now? I'm just going to say that the difference in LeBron's 18 years, Kareem played 20 years or 21 years to get those 42,000 points. And, he got the ball a lot in his early years. And he was always putting it in the basket. But LeBron is 6'10", 265 pounds. It was like he's a cyborg. Like, he was designed to play this game. Like, he was literally made to play this game. Yes, because of Michael and Kobe, but this kid is like, you remember there was Obi-Wan Kenobi, then it was Darth Vader, and that's what I mean. It's like there's a I'm doing some Star Wars bullshit, but there's that mix. As once was the master, now the master, and the master, and the master. I still think MJ in everybody's eyes is untouchable, but LeBron is an unbelievable specimen of a human being, and you can't compare him because the eras are too different. If LeBron was able to hand check, it'd be a different game. If other people were able to hand check LeBron, it'd be a different game. You know what I'm saying? So that's a different. Just that one rule will change the way scoring goes right now.
I'm looking at the stats. It says LeBron is third. He's out at Kobe. Oh, does it say? He says he has 1308 and Kobe has 1346, but it got him here third. But are you saying that he's going to take Kareem's record? I
think he's going to, if he plays 2 more years, he'll be, Karl Malone is second.
Yep.
Then what do you say? If all of a sudden, I just want everybody to realize this. You can't judge greatness by rings because Bill Russell has 11, Robert Horry has 7.
Yeah.
You can't do that. You can't judge them by rings. You can't do it by scoring because Kareem, and then there's Karl Malone, and then now there was Kobe, but now there's LeBron. Like, all these different things. You just have to put, and I said this when somebody thought I was hating on MJ, when they was like, he's not in your top 5. I was like, well, he's my constituent. I played with him. I'm friends with him. My players watching, that's how I look at it. When I look and I would see Earl of Pearl spinning and, or hearing about it, I was like 9 years old. When I was watching World Be Free and Bernard King. Bernard King was my favorite player. So it's kind of hard. Jerry West is on this thing. Elgin Baylor, the reason I wear 22. Plus, I like the number. I mean, it was hard for me to say that. And so when MJ's name wasn't in there, they was like, how could you not put him in your top 5? I was like, because I'm talking about the people I watched. I'm not talking about my man's right here that I, go get food with. And I realized that people got to that point upset. But I got to tell everybody, it's every 10 years, right? Yeah. So MJ was the best in the 90s. Right, because he got in 1984. He broke his ankle, and then in '86 he was doing his thing, but he wasn't better than us. We were in the Eastern Conference Finals, and then '89. So it was Detroit, Atlanta, Boston, and then in 1990 when 1989 he's going against us. We're like, okay, that's cool, but we beat Boston to go to the championship. I'm sorry, we beat them to go on to the championship. Then the next year we beat them again to go on to the championship. And the only reason we lost in 91 is we were tired of winning. That's the way I look at it. All right, I was like, let the guy have it. No, he finally got to that point. But 91, 92, 93, then he wins 96, 97, 98. So that's that 10 years. And everybody thought I was being crazy. I go, it was Magic Bird in the 80s. Right, it was in the 70s. It's Miss Moses Malone and Dr. J, and then there's and then there's Kobe, right? In 1999, 2000, all of a sudden Allen Iverson. Remember that Allen Iverson is now there. So Allen Iverson, Kobe Bryant, take it through another 10 years. Kobe wins the championship in 2010, and boom, LeBron's around. LeBron moves up into it, and then this is his 10 years. And now it's Steph Curry's 10 years. And I tell people that you got these great players every decade, and y'all trying to say which one is better out of all the decades. You really can't put that together.
It's a great conversation.
Yeah, definitely. Now, speaking of Kobe, passed away about a year ago. So speak on, your relationship with Kobe and then learning about him and him pass away.
Yeah, it was a trip. My mom's had died. We had buried her. She died on the 14th of January. We buried her on the 25th. And then they come and tell me as I'm cleaning out her room the next day that Kobe died. Like my boy said, sit down. And I was like, man, what could be any worse than this? He tells me that. And I'm not saying it was worse than my mother's death, but boy, it hit the same kind of way. Like my mother's death hit me in the stomach. This one punched me in the back of the head. And it was crazy. So I have a relationship with Kobe that a lot of folks, didn't realize. Just that 1 year with him was great. But also during the unfortunate court case, I was talking to him often, and I wasn't telling anybody. I was just always good about talking about other things or mentioning things and what I thought about that. We never had to have a conversation about the case, and no one would understand that. Like no one even knew, because to me, I was being a friend, and any way I can help this cat, I was helping him. So I always saw Kobe differently, and I always saw his greatness. I remember I asked him, I said, hey man, so you the next Michael Jordan? He said, nah, I'm the first Kobe Bryant. I was like, whoa, that's big. He said, yeah, I'm gonna be the greatest player to ever play this. I said, ever? He said, ever. Be the greatest player to ever play this game. He was 20 years old.
Yeah,
he was 20 years old when he told me that. And he was not joking.
Right.
Like in his brain, that was a real thing. And everything, my mother used to call me the prophet, because I said, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this when I get older. And then I did it all. So I knew it could be done. To know or to think you can become the greatest player of all time is a unbelievable feeling. But he damn sure worked his butt at trying to get to that.
Yeah, absolutely. It was heartbreaking when he passed away, being the biggest fans as we were for him, and not even knowing him. But we had a bucket list when we got into this studio of who we wanted to interview, and he was on that list, and it was heartbreaking. But I was looking at Shaq. I was watching Shaq. He was on the All the Smoke podcast with Steven Jackson and Matt Barnes. Shout out to them brothers over there doing their thing. And he was talking about when he transitioned from LA to Miami, and how there was things going on in Miami where they were kind of nervous because they heard all the things that went on in LA with Shaq and Kobe, and they had a young Flash out there and Dwayne Wade, and Shaq kind of stepped back and said, nah, I don't know what you heard. This is your team. This is your squad. And he said something very poignant that really got my attention. He said, what I should have did in LA. Now, everybody gave Kobe blame for what happened between him and Shaq and blamed Kobe for Shaq leaving. But I think in that moment, Shaq kind of put the accountability on himself, which I never heard before. So
Big, we call him Big. Big is an amazing human being. He's one of my favorite human beings on the planet. I mean, and he's also my frat brother. All these great Omega men. But it was a trip. You know, hindsight is 20/20. But you have to also understand that Shaquille is probably the only big man. There hasn't been a big man as charismatic as Shaquille O'Neal. Right. Now, Wilt Chamberlain was in commercials, and he played volleyball, and he was in Conan. But nobody was rapping, breakdancing, acting, dunking, destroying rims. Nobody. And I just think nobody was really championing him, letting them know how much an anomaly he was. But they were always in his head talking about Kobe doing this, Kobe doing that. And the people who were in his ear are no longer around him, are no longer in his ear, because he realized it was detrimental. So I'm glad he got older and realized that. But they have to understand, when you have such a big personality and one ball, you have to figure out where you want it to go and how you want it to go. So for him to say, hey, I'm just going to come here and see how this rolls and trust in Pat Riley and know that this young D Wade is going to do his thing. Also, he had Alonzo Mourning on the bench with him. Yeah. He had other vets that he can talk to and let the young fella do all the slit slashing and dunking. And then we just clean it up. It was in a different place where Shaq had to be in it all the time, like when he was in Orlando, like he was in the Lakers. And a lot is put on top of it too. So a lot is put on top when so many angles is coming and having a conversation and talking to you and telling you what's up.
Or
well, we spoke about Allen Iverson earlier, and I wanted to talk.
Love Allen.
Yeah, at first, he was great on the court. Obviously, to me, one of the greatest players to ever play. But he changed the game in a way as well. He set a lot of trends with the tattoos, the cornrows, and even changing the dress code. Could you kind of get into that and its impact on the sport?
Yeah, I'm involved in a platform called Wave, WEIV. It's View spelled backwards. RideTheWave.com. And we launched Allen Iverson's Wave page this past weekend at his tournament down in Orlando, down in Florida. When AI came in, imagine this: John Thompson knew. John Thompson, so trip. I asked John Thompson why he didn't come recruit me. He said, I heard you was a thug. I started dying. He started laughing. I was like, that's why I'm asking. You only came and got thugs. He was like, nah, you wasn't good. Plus, I didn't know where to fit you in. So I gave him the business in 1985 because of that. No, so I was like, I needed a Georgetown jersey. All of Brooklyn would have been in Washington, D.C. every weekend. But when AI came in, you got to understand, they didn't understand a lot, right? I remember one time he did a picture and they airbrushed his tattoos, and then the NBA did a commercial where an older lady was going to play. She had cornrows and had her tattoos on her arm. I got sued for this tattoo right here in 1990 for 1992 for having it outside of my uniform.
Wow.
Yeah, and I was like, "This is my body." He goes, is it? Because that sweatshirt says "Property of the Miami Heat," and I learned right there, we are property of that team. Everything about you. So I got fined, but we wind up rescinding the fine because they couldn't tell me what to do with the skin of my body. That's like saying if I had a rash, they were going to fine me for it.
Yeah.
So we wind up getting out of that one, but also, what came along was the hip hop culture. Remember, we were fighting. The hip hop culture was fighting to get involved in the world at that time. We still, they had gotten rid of Yo MTV Raps. Right now at that time, it was Tigger BET was moving in these situations. So all of a sudden, hip hop, 106 in Park, my show on BET, like all of these shows were pushing hip hop. Imagine that's when Snoop had gotten in trouble and got off of Death Row. The Tupac and those guys and Biggie had been murdered. So in this mentality, that's all a part of hip hop, when it really wasn't, but was. So Allen was, I guess, the Flint of all of that, man. And he was like, yo, you can wear what you want. You can go to your natural style. You can be creative. Dennis Rodman is not a crazy guy for having tattoos. You can do it. Now, it seems like if you don't have tattoos, you can't get in the NBA. Right. It's like, how many tats you got? 2. Man, you can't. You go to the no league, you know. So it's a different pull. I just think culture moves, and Allen was one of those people that moved along with him.
You were one of the few that got kind of transitioned out of basketball. You've seen people transition into commentating and all kind of different things, but you transitioned into the culture. You went right into BET. Mm-hmm. You were involved in hip hop heavy. You were in Bad Boys. It was just you. John Salley was into the culture. What inspired you to do that? Was that always kind of a plan for yours, outside of the NBA, outside of the career, to kind of get involved with the media, involved with hip hop culture?
Yeah, my whole life was to be an actor. I wanted to be the Black Johnny Carson. So at 11 years old, first time I saw Johnny Carson, and Ed McMahon was like, "Here's Johnny." My great uncle used to say it, and I thought it was cool when I first watched it. I thought it was the coolest thing to sit down and have these conversations with celebrities and be humble and be funny at the same time. I wanted to do that. I used to tell my mom I was going to be on television. She used to say, "Stop," and I used to look at TV like this. And she said, "Stop gazing in the devil's eyeball," is what she called television. And I was like, "Mom, I'm gonna be on here one day. Like I'm gonna be on TV. Like everyone's gonna know my name." She was like, "Okay, Johnny." So just that mentality that I know that I was gonna go. I wanted to play basketball. I loved it. But the only way I thought I was ever going to be on the Mike Douglas show, which y'all never heard of, but it was the first time I saw Magic Johnson. He was 19 years old. He was on the Mike Douglas show that came on at 5:00. And my brother Ron turns to me and says, "How old are you, 14? Yeah. You going to be on the Mike Douglas show when you're 19? And I was on fire. He goes, "No, but I saw you on a skateboard. You're going to have a broken collarbone. You're 7 foot with a broken collarbone. You can't be in the NBA." Like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And to me, that was making it. And so I wanted to do movies. Like I was friends with Spike way back, man. We in college. I'm loving Spike, man. And I'm walking around selling tickets to She's Gotta Have It down in Atlanta. I'm going to be an actor. But he's like, "How many things you going to be?" I was like, "I'm going to be it all." So to do it, I got a lot of arrows in my back. Yeah, because the pioneers get the arrows, right? Yeah, you got different actors, different athletes that don't fear that they can't do it. I mean, I was told I was too tall by Spike. He's too tall for my frame, man. I can't do it. So you did a basketball movie and you didn't put me in. So that tells you what he thought about my acting skills. But I got a new movie coming out in September on Disney Plus called Sneakerella. Yeah. I'm not supposed to tell you all that, but I told you anyway.
We'll make sure they don't get into the edit, the cut.
No, I'm joking. It advertised. It's probably my favorite movie I've ever done. Bad Boys was great. I love Bad Boys. It was my start. And Eddie was great. And all the rest of them. But this one, I literally knew what I was doing. I knew where I was thinking. It's a hip hop musical. So I always wanted to be in a musical. I wanted to see it. So, and it's another thing. I'm not afraid to do things, man. I did stand up. I acted. I'm about to start directing. I'm about to produce a movie. Like, you just got to keep it moving. And it's like Kanye said, only you can put a limitation on you. What everybody else says doesn't make a difference, right? It's you. Right. So my advice to those cats is if you see it, do it. But focus, which to some people, to me, wasn't. I'm not. I was focused on being the best entertainer I can possibly be in sports, in television, in film, in writing. I wanted to be an entertainer. I wanted to entertain people.
Oh.
Definitely. Talk about your veganism journey, and at what point
Yeah.
did you become a vegan, and what caused you to do that?
Absolutely.
So 1991, my cholesterol was through the roof. I was 27 years old. They was telling me that I was going to have to get to this drug called Lipitor. No, I wasn't 91. Yeah, it was going to get to this drug called Lipitor. Now, I don't mean to mention the company's name, but supposedly one of the side effects is impotence. So I was like, there got to be another way, bro. I'm entertaining too much right now. And then I went to this lady named Dr. Jewel Pukru, and she said, yo, you full of shit. And I go, what do you mean? She said, some horrible intestinal toxins. And when we give you this colonic and we get that out of you and kill these parasites and start getting all that out of you, you're going to be. I also went through a bad breakup. And let me get all those parasites she put in out of you. And when I got those out and I started eating macrobiotic, and my body had lost all those parasites and all those things I was holding on to, it was right there. I was a lying vegetarian. I was still going fishing, eating cheese and pizzas and all that stuff with cow cheese, eating turkey burgers as if it was different from beef, eating fish, and that was better for you. And then in 2007, I said, when I turned 40, I decided in 2006, I was never going to lie to myself again. Period. I was not lying to myself. And what that meant is 2004, I wasn't going to lie to myself. In 2006, 2007, I decided not to eat anything from an animal. So that was 14 years ago. And right now I weighed in at 242 pounds, and I was 250 when I played with the Lakers 21 years ago. So my blood is great. No cholesterol problems, no prostate problems, cleaning my liver, my kidneys, working on my joints, and my ligaments. Like literally, it's a full-time job taking care of this avocado. Like I take care of this car like the Mustang Salley, that it was a mint condition, built in 1964. I'm trying to take care of it, sparkle it up, and that's how I'm treating. Now I ain't putting no extra rims on it, not shading the windows. I'm not putting anything in it. I'm keeping it as put together as possible. So I think veganism has helped that. Like I'm putting together right now, I own a cafe called Cafe Organics with my partners Terrence and Shiloh out in the San Bernardino. Great place. If y'all ever in the LA area, got to come out there on your way out to Palm Springs, check it out. And then I plan on doing something which is like a pop-up every weekend here in Los Angeles. And the reason I think it's important because I've run into a lot of people saying, well, the processed vegan food is just as bad as one. It's not just as bad, first thing, because no animal had to die for the making of this. So that right there puts you in a whole nother room. Two, if you get to the right companies that use the right salts and the different sweeteners that are needed, yes, that's not great for the body. It's not, but one, an animal didn't have to die in order for you to have a taste. So that's first. And then once we get you kind of waking up, because I tell people, when you talk to people who aren't of this lifestyle and you automatically condemn them from not being this lifestyle, you're just as bad as a flesh eater. So I know that they're not conscious. And they go, oh, man, you're going to say I'm not conscious now because I eat meat? Exactly. I'm exactly going to say that. Because how could you be conscious about the beings on the earth of God, conscious in with your higher being, and feel that you eating another sentinel being is going to make you even more of a sentinel being? Makes no sense. So all sentinel beings on this planet don't need to be, God put them here for them to live. The fruits and the seeds are for you to eat. He said it in Genesis. And if you come at me as you're an atheist, it still makes more sense, science, not eating an animal. So that's that point. So when people aren't really conscious, but they're trying it, they're trying to wake up slowly. You don't shake them. Wake up, man. You go, hey, man, you want some water? Huh? Yeah. You're just waking up. You want some water? Yeah, it's good for you. And as they slowly wake up, then they'll go into raw vegetables, raw fruit. So that's my deal. My deal is to beat it first, to lay it down that everything can be done. Because the only thing that's real, fellas, is that you're alive right now. Everything else doesn't matter.
Yeah.
If you appreciate your perspective, definitely on that. And I know we're getting to about an hour, and we told your publicist we'll keep you for an hour. Definitely.
That's cool.
You sure?
That's cool. Yeah, man. That's what I told y'all.
We want to respect your time,
I research
brother.
people before I say yes. I would look when it gets to Anthony Allen. I look at it, and she goes, "What do you think?" And I said, "Send me the links." I check the links out. I go, "All right, I'll be on that show." That's why people only see me on one show on Vlad, because Vlad reached out to me 3 years ago when people didn't know to reach out to me. That's the reason I'm always on. And he's my man. He's a good dude, and I like the platform. I like him asking those questions.
Yeah.
You don't have to. That's another thing. You don't have to. You can say, next question.
Word.
And he's going to edit to the next question. That's the way it goes.
Speaking of Vlad, man, I watched one episode, with you guys, and you were, why don't you think, or how do you feel, I should say, about people calling Vlad the feds?
One, I put it this way, to let everybody out there know. I told this story on Vlad, but I tell it again. I was in China, 2016. I was in a Lexus 560, a Lexus 600. That's 4 seats. It was a dude being driven. He was over here, had a dude protecting us in the front. And I'm looking around out of this open roof on this unbelievable car that I'd never seen in America yet. And I go, how is this happening to a 5-star hotel with an unbelievable bar? I filmed everything because no one's ever going to believe this happened. I'm looking at all of this. What I'm thinking China looks like is like a karate flick. It's not, right? And Shanghai is a new city. And so I'm tripping. But then he says this. He says, see, in China, we understand the government owns everything. In America, you're under the illusion they don't. So for us to think, oh, you getting away, or I ain't gonna pay my taxes, or I'm gonna do this over here. Dude, it's their money. It's called U.S. tender. There's a camera on every corner. You carry around a tracking device. You talk, like right now, we're talking in tracking device. They are watching everything. If anybody was even at the point, I was doing a Robert Ory and I, right? Robert came before me, then I went around after him at the CES in Vegas, right? They paid us to do this thing with the NBA. And so on stage, I'm making jokes and I'm doing the pictures up there, people getting autographs. And this guy was like, man, you're hilarious. How do we book you? And I go, here, you call this, you go to this person. Next you know, I get called in from NSA. That's the national security. And I think it's a joke. It's not a joke. They go, we want you to come in and speak. So they had to research me. I got to go in to perform. It went across all of DC on this closed circuit television. I got paid a little bit of money because they said, we don't have the money that you usually get to be paid, and we can't fly you that way, but we want you here. And I thought, okay, it's the U.S. government. So then I get a call. They go, well, we're going to be monitoring you for the next 3 months because we have to, because you were just here. I said, I feel safe. Now, I feel safe. That means y'all are watching. Yo, some shit happened. I'm calling y'all.
Right.
To anybody to think that, or to think if you are even under investigation, if you're even associated to that point and you already know what your past is, you shouldn't talk about it. What the smart thing that Kodak Black did when he was on Ebro, say nothing. Let Ebro get mad. Say nothing, dog. I can't talk about that. Like, let's talk about something else. Nah, then I'm out. That's exactly how you're supposed to be. And for people just to come up and think that's what it is. No, you rap it, you say it, they have to pay attention to it. They've been on it since Tupac. They've been going after us, man, with the vice president's wife, and with I forgot the black lady's name who was going after Ice Cube, and everybody had to put their names in rhymes. I don't even want to mention her name. Yeah, right. They've been going after trying to find ways of getting this off or giving it more publicity. So to think he's a Fed is crazy. It just doesn't make any sense. This is one thing to say, and a lot of people who said it got their own platform now when they realize I can do this. Damn, I should have thought of this. A lot of folks saying things were on his show at one time. Pay attention to that.
Damn, that's a fact. Talk about the media though, because we're in a very privileged position to where my cousin and I are doing, and very blessed to be able to talk to you and various other people. Yeah. We weren't being able to do this 20 years ago. It wasn't an opportunity or door to open to do this. But on the flip side, you got a lot of motherfuckers carrying it around like it's a wild weapon, and they're very divisive in how they do it, spreading wild things and doing just very against the grain kind of thing. So just talk about the pros and the cons to anybody being able to do media now.
All right, so give you an example. The reason I got involved with this platform, Wave, WEIV, is because we have to invite you. It's not like the other, like Patreon or something like this, where anybody can just get in. Because a lot of people feel what they have to say is important, and I guess it is to them.
Yeah.
But you know, just having so many people fire off on what they think and not know is amazing. My cousin, I'm not gonna say his name, we used to have conversations about hip hop, and I used to go back and forth, and he didn't like 50 Cent, and I go, 50 Cent is hip hop, 100% hip hop. How could you not? I don't know, man. You know, he's all right. And I go, you didn't listen? No, I listened to a couple of songs. I said, no, you didn't, because if you were to sit there and not be he looked like somebody that beat you up when you were little. He does. I go, exactly. That's why you looking at him funny. I said, but if you were to go on 50's flow and 50's words and what he did and how he got to it, you're going to have an unbelievable respect for 50. He's one of my favorite rappers because he literally said, I'm going to go this vein and I'm going to blow this to the point it needs to be. And then I'm going to go this vein and then I'm going to move it to here. And then I'm a marketing genius and I'm going to move it to here. And everything he does, it may not be the things everyone likes, but he damn sure has a result from it. And so I just think when people get to a microphone and they can say whatever and the world is listening to them, most of them aren't really well-versed on one, how to speak in front of a camera, and two, they don't know where to do research from. And to say things that you think sound good to you is irresponsible. You should do your research first. And it doesn't take you any time. Like you guys, if you're going to do interview somebody right here that you heard of, it would behoove you to what? Do as much research as possible. So if something comes up and he mentions it, it would sound like you knew more by saying, yeah, in 1975, you said and did this. That right there means you did your research.
Right.
That's why you have a successful show, and some people are up there on trying to emulate. So I don't think everybody should have a channel. I believe everyone feels they should have a voice, but I don't think that is the way either.
To talk about DMX, man, he died. It's probably like about maybe 3 weeks or a month ago now.
Damn, that's crazy.
Did you ever meet him? And if you did, talk about his tragic passing.
Yeah, man, I met DMX in 2000 and early 2000. Tom Arnold had done this movie with him, and I go downtown to meet him because I want to see him, and he's racing cars. And Tom Arnold was like, yeah, I want you to come on down. He goes, yeah. He goes, can you talk to him a little bit? I go, what do you mean? He doesn't realize that when he's not up, we still filming and this, that, and they were, walking on eggshells and giving him this and make him happy. And he was just the kindest heart cat in the world. He was a young, happy to have life. Like, oh shit, I can race cars automatically. Some shit I probably wanted to do when I was little and I wasn't able to. And you guys are saying anything you want, as opposed to this is how it's done. This is where we're going. This is how, it was kind of a lot of people's fault on not giving boundaries to it. But to him at that certain time, he said that too. Mike Tyson said he realized some of his friends were his enemies and some of his enemies were better friends to him. So I loved him. I love Swiss Beats. Swiss Beats is my man. Every time I see him, I want to hug him or say something. But X changed hip hop. X gave hip hop another identity after Pac died, after Biggie died. X all of a sudden was that move, those beats around the world. Stop, drop, open up shop. It just people don't even understand what that means, but it just liked rhyming it. And I think he gave it a whole different feel, a different bark, a different move. I heard that stuff too, that, they were talking about how, Ja stole the style and he was mad and all that stuff. Nobody can be X. No matter how much Ja Rule sounds like Ja Rule the Damager and DMX, Ja Rule was Ja Rule. Like he had his flow too, but nobody was DMX. Nobody, period. It was, and if you put it's like Snoop. And certain rappers, you put places, that's who they are, right? And Snoop, DMX, Tupac, Jay-Z, Biggie Smalls, Wu-Tang Clan. Think about Old Dirty Bastard. Just to do his voices and the way he looked and how he moved, and sometimes being able to stand his words, that's a whole new culture right there. That's a whole new style that you have to deal with that you've never ever seen. But I think DMX had his group, his style. It was a lot like LL Cool J. I know a lot of people are not going to understand what I say, but when LL first came out, it was like, I can't rock without my radio. He was muscle bound. He was jumping around. DMX had that same persona as LL Cool J, just with an edge of a dog on it. It was a trip. But I've seen it. I've seen different moves to it. I've been around it since the beginning, fam. Like, I started rhyming in 1978. I was 14 years old. I was in 8th grade. My brother took me up to the Bronx. I saw Timmy Hall, who's Dr. Timmy Hall now, who I still love to this day, Timmy Hall and Johnny G. And I thought they were going to be the next thing out of the Bronx. And I just thought I was going to be a rapper. And DJ Tommy Allen, he just passed too last year, WBLS. Bless his soul. But I was MC Johnny T in the Mass Production crew. So I was literally at Prentice High School when I saw Will Smith perform, where I saw that it was called the Force MCs. Then it became the Force MDs that wind up singing that song. What is that song? I'll remember in a second. But I used to go up to Prentice. I used to go up to Broadway International. Anywhere I can see hip hop. I became friends with MC Light like in 1987. I liked everything about it. Like I was down with Bad Boy and Diddy, and we were always doing. I had groups in Detroit. I was about it, man. It was definitely about it. So when I say DMX was different than anybody else, it's because I've been from the beginning.
Who your top 5 MCs, man? Being a brother from Brooklyn, seeing it all, experiencing all genres of hip hop and levels of hip hop. I'm curious to know who your top 5 MCs.
Big Daddy Kane, Talib Kweli, Jay-Z, Nas, KRS-One.
In that order?
That's fire.
Yeah. Anybody want to fight? Anybody want to fight?
So hold on. You said Big Daddy Kane. Who'd you say after that?
Biz Markie, no?
It was Big Daddy Kane.
Oh, okay.
I had KRS-One.
Yeah,
Jay-Z, Nas.
Jay-Z, Nas, Biggie. I know people are going to say you can't put Biggie in because he only had 2 albums, but I was best friends with Heavy D, and Heavy D said, Sal, I've never heard a flow like this guy and how he puts things together. And I put Talib Kweli.
You did with Talib, that was it. Okay.
Yeah. I love Common. I talk to Chuck D all the time. Chuck D is one of my favorite MCs, and he was pivotal in this. And if you now go back and check his words, it's a trip. But the triple and double entendres of Jay-Z is crazy. But I can give you the top 20, and I would never give an order. So quick. 2 Chainz, Andre 3000.
Okay.
I would go down to Chino XL, Joe Ortiz, Eminem,
Big Pun,
Royce 5'9", Big Pun for sure.
Yeah.
I got to what's his other kid?
Eminem.
I put Eminem. E40.
Oh yeah.
To the Bay. To the Bay.
E40. There's a kid now at a his name is Q. Ninth Wonder just produced him. I'm telling you, fire going to be like up in the top rolling. I think Kanye's in the top 20. Kanye proved that he had flow as well as an ear that no one else, not no one, but a lot of people didn't have.
He's a musician.
Yeah. You know, it's funny because we talk about, I said Talib, and then Talib and High Tech. Like, I remember when High Tech was rhyming, I thought it was two MCs. I didn't realize he was also the producer. That was dope. Who am I leaving out? We can go to Kendrick. We can go to J. Cole.
Did you say Pop?
2 Chainz. Huh?
Did you say Pop?
Yeah, I love Pop. I like Pop. I like him as a poet. I think the best rapper of all time. I'm gonna get in trouble for this. Is Lil Wayne.
Ooh.
Wait a minute.
I ain't mad at you.
Yeah, I ain't mad at you either.
I'm mad at it.
He's the
Nobody can touch it.
For a lot of the blame that we see with the wave of the new rappers, but I mean that is an iconic in itself.
There's nobody. If you sit and think about it, just sit for a second, and it's almost back to the Michael Jordan situation. Like Jay-Z got my feeling because Jay-Z was. I felt everything coming out of Jay-Z. Mm-hmm. Like I'm like everybody else. When it comes out, I want to hear it. Nas, like when Nas rhymes, I literally am watching the words, you know, so I don't miss anything. But Lil Wayne, holy shit, dog.
Yeah.
Like he don't even remember some of the fire he has been putting out. But if you would have, because I was going to do this on the other show, I said we should just do something when we talk about hip hop from a different perspective since we're older. And I just sat there and was like, yo, man, this kid, little brother. I have to put both of them in there. But just thinking about things Lil Wayne has done, the features he's been on has been phenomenal. And then his albums. And he has a lot to judge from. So no matter whether you like the words or don't like the words or take his point, the fact that he put it in a rhythmic form is amazing. Kid is bananas.
Shout out to Wayne.
Yeah, in fact. My last question would be the Bad Boys 3. Yeah, I think you were on 1 and 2, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. What happened with number 3? Why didn't you get that role in Bad Boys? And tell us a little bit about the experience working on those sets, if you can.
Well, if you go on Netflix, I'm on there's a show with Gabrielle Union and Jessica Alba called LA's Finest.
Yeah, that was a spinoff.
So we did. I got to reprise the role of Fletcher in 2 seasons of that. And I think the Bad Boys 3 situation was, as you can see, it became a fad or a way in film to bring in a crew. And every time you have a crew, now you have so many angles to shoot a show or a movie off from. They did it with Fast and Furious, right? You had Vin Diesel, who was bringing everything you needed. You didn't need anybody else. Mm-hmm. But then now you have his crew, which is, you have more to do. The Avengers. What else was there? Transformers. They just got to this point where you had to have a crew of people around you you needed a village in order to do things differently. So I think it went from a point of Martin in Bad Boys 2 wanting to quit and get out to Bad Boys 3 where he's now a grandfather and he should be out and will realizing, you know what, I'm going to have to move up in a position now. Everything has a movement. So I think that new crew they put together, if they were to do something with Bad Boys, it would only have resemblance of Will and Martin. But I think it was a cool thing. I think it was wanted. And as I watched it, I wish I could have been in it, but there was no room. Like when they killed off the captain, what they're gonna do to the computer nerd.
Yeah, true. It was still a great role, man. How'd you like the plot in part 3? Was you feeling that?
Well,
set up son and all.
I studied Santeria at one time.
Okay.
So that was very close. I think his son having really good skills like that was dope. There's a lot of bullets that was missing a lot of people. I always wonder how are you so bad a shot with a machine gun, but that's just me. That's just me. And how you can just get behind a pole and all the bullets go by you. Have you ever shot a gun? It is the loudest, most crazy reaction. So to have gunshot going on around you and to know where to run is always been an amazement in a movie to me. So that's all I'm gonna say. The only movie that when I realized was The Tenant. Man, that's how it. I just tell you this, I shot a 50 caliber before in Honduras, 300 yards. Just laying down and taking that shot and trying to see the bullet hit is amazing. You never see it. Somebody else has to tell you. So when you see it in the movies, somebody looking through a scope and you're seeing a person go down and then they're moving, that ain't happening. Because that gun is like, blah, 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 you got to blink. So a lot of gunshots always trip me out. But Bad Boys always did it. They always had a lot of bullets raining around people.
Yeah. Tenet was with John David Washington, right?
Yeah, man.
A few times. I was a thinker right there. But we definitely appreciate your time, brother. The great John Salley on the Hip Hop Uncensored podcast. Before we get out of here, man, let the people know where they can find you and just give the people that listen, man, that are sticking around and listen to the audio version of this podcast some words of wisdom with entrepreneurship, man. And we appreciate your time, brother.
Definitely.
Well, first thing, John Salley, SALLEY.com. And you can also go to deuces22.cannabis on Instagram, DEUCES. I want you to check out my new artist who's bananas. Her name is Veda Veli, VAD VELI. Yeah, check out Instagram. I know you guys are going to want to fall in love. Everyone does. But bananas, and we're about to drop that, I think, coming up this month. Even during Mercury in retrograde, we were going to drop it on the 3rd, but we're going to move maybe to the 9th. To the after my birthday. So it's all coming, man. And entrepreneurship, let me explain. I got in trouble when my daughter decided she wanted to take her college money, and invested in her own cannabis company, and I was behind it. And since then, she is in the top 50 women in cannabis. Wow. And we're working a deal out, God willing, with the people from Cookies and guys in Detroit. So, she's about to turn 25, and she can be in the high 6 figures by 26, 27. And it's because, she realized the investment now. Like she said, you want to invest in my future? I said, I got you in college. She goes, then invest in my future. This is what I want. And she's been right. So I'm happy to call my daughter the boss.
Dope. Hey, well, we got a platform here that we do a lot of marijuana reviews. So if you ever want to send some product over our way in legal,
definitely. What state y'all in?
Legal New Jersey, brother.
Oh yeah. Okay. Well, I have 2 growers we're interviewing now out of New Jersey. About an hour outside. Oh, I got to say that. About 2 hours outside of Newark. Wink. In other words, in Newark. But the difference, like, we're shooting her show right now. We still haven't named it. We shot 7 episodes and there's no name to it. She literally tastes all the weed for the people that are going to put it in our product. Because we're not growers. But if it's dope, it's high quality, it tests well, it's legal, we do a deal and we buy a certain amount, we put it out. And that's the deal. Like, we are in it 100%. And we're Black owned.
Beautiful.
Meaning, we're not saying we're not going to sell, because we're going to sell when our evaluation gets to a point. But we're literally Black people in a business that literally put so many Black people in jail, and only 1% in cannabis. So we're making sure we stay there as much as possible. Like, again, for people to follow.
Indeed.
Absolutely, man. The legendary John Salley on the Hip Hop Uncensored podcast. Once again, man, we appreciate you, man.
Thank you very much.